Our next speaker is Dr. Simon Pete Worden, Brigadier General, U.S. Air Force, retired, who, as many of you know, is the NASA Ames Research Center Director. Prior to becoming Director, Dr. Worden was a research professor of astronomy at the University of Arizona. He's a recognized expert on space issues, both civil and military. He's authored or co-authored more than 150 scientific, technical papers in astrophysics, space science, and strategic studies. Moreover, he served as a scientific co-investigator for 2 NASA space science missions. Dr. Worden was commissioned in 1971 after receiving a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Michigan. He entered the Air Force in 1975 after graduating from the University of Arizona with a doctorate in astronomy. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Dr. Worden served in every phase of development, international negotiations, and implementation of the Strategic Defense Initiative, a primary component in ending the Cold War. He twice served in the Executive Office of the President and as staff officer for initiatives in the George Bush administration's National Space Council. Dr. Worden spearheaded efforts to revitalize U.S. civil space exploration and Earth monitoring programs. However, Pete is not just going to give any talk today. Today, Pete will be joining us live from Second Life, an online three-dimensional learning environment in which individuals are represented by digital avatars. Many people have said that this is the next phase of the internet. And of course, as is Pete's usual tradition, he is at the cutting edge. This talk is being streamed live, audio, into Second Life, and the audience you will see on the screen are the avatars of real people gathering from around the world who can participate virtually through this presentation. Pete's avatar is Simon Pete Raymaker, a highly appropriate moniker for those of you who know him. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Simon Pete Worden, aka Simon Pete Raymaker.
Greetings, fellow space developers. I am the avatar of Pete Worden, Director of the NASA Ames Research Center. I'm speaking to you today from Spaceport Alpha and Second Life, a virtual world that I'll tell you more about today. I'm standing in front of a model of the Ares 1 rocket developed by members of the International Spaceflight Museum. Before I begin, fly with me over to our presentation platform illuminated by an artificial sun ahead on NASA Colab Island. Sometimes things go a little slow in Second Life. We're getting there. As we're on our way, what I'd like to show you today are the fantastic opportunities unfolding in our vision for space exploration. I'm sure everyone knows they were on our way into the solar system, beginning with the moon. This is nothing less than the next step in settling the solar system. I'm convinced the parents of the first child to be born off-world are in school today. Perhaps they're even here. NASA is busy building the rockets and spacecraft that will take them to the moon and beyond. But there's much more to the vision than working on the capabilities for human spaceflight. Fundamentally, the vision we share with you, people throughout the world, is one of unlimited opportunity. These are opportunities for economic and technological expansion, to be sure. But perhaps the most interesting opportunity is that we're all going into space. That's what I will discuss today. We at NASA are working hard to create opportunities for what I might call participatory exploration. We are doing this in a lot of ways. This virtual world, Second Life, is one way. It's part of an initiative we have called Colab. Other parts of Colab include opportunities for software experts, whom I might better call geeks, to help us develop open source software to support a wide variety of space exploration needs. We're calling this Cosmo Code. We are forging new partnerships with industry. In particular, we are seeking partnerships with non-traditional industries in the IT and biotechnology areas. For example, we're working closely with Google, a company a few of you might even heard of before NASA started working. We're also working with the emerging space entrepreneurial community such as Virgin Galactic, another company some here might just have heard of before NASA. Finally, I want to underscore that NASA's exploration missions include not only manned missions to the moon, but a strong component of robotic exploration missions to the moon and Mars as well. I'm particularly excited about the potential of small, low-cost missions. The revolution in our ability to do big things with small satellites using off-the-shelf technology means we can mount frequent, small robotic space flights to the moon. These could easily carry scientific and exploration instruments, but due to their low cost, potentially only a few $1 million, small lunar and other deep space missions of the nanosat class, weighing a few kilograms, might be supported through wholly private means. Let me tell you a little more about Colab. In many areas, new business possibilities and other endeavors are being developed in collaborative workspaces. This means that folks with widely different areas of expertise and objectives share common workspaces. They share workspace resources such as business and communications equipment. But most important, they have the opportunity to interact and cross-fertilize ideas. For example, a person or group working on a NASA small satellite concept could share space with people looking for new medical treatments, new emergency or energy solutions, or even political activists. While none of these people or groups has any initial knowledge, or even in purpose in the other areas, their ability to easily interact often results in dramatically new solutions to each other's goals. To further this approach, we have established a small collaborative element in a collaborative workspace in San Francisco, sharing this with people from many different perspectives and many different goals. Already, several impressive results have emerged. To carry our collaborative concept further and make it even easier, we're using the power of virtual environments to expand our reach. Today, there are over 100 virtual environments in the United States alone used for a number of purposes. Second Life is an exciting new opportunity to begin just outside of NASA Ames in Mountain View, California. They've constructed a virtual world where anyone can enter through their computer and interact with each other through their avatar. An avatar is a virtual replica of yourself, or what you would like yourself to look like. Other avatars can show up and interact with me via written messages, and now audio as well. You see some of them around me now. This one of me is clearly cooler than I am in real life, I might add. NASA has set up a space island as a collaborative workspace in this virtual environment. As I noted, I'm speaking to you from that island. The Colab team started this island differently than others may have guessed. We did not contract with a vendor to build content here. Indeed, we opened our doors and started having meetings to build a community. More people started coming, and the community started to form. We held a competition for the design of the island, and the Colab community decided which design would win. Leaders emerged from the community such as Troy McLuhan, Dan Laughlin, Charles White. Other independent groups formed to create meeting spaces and offices, such as the Space Riggers, and others helped to create my avatar today. Special thanks to Rocket Sellers. We are looking at how this island can be a portal for all to fly along on space missions. Real data from real missions, such as the International Space Station, can be ported into virtual environments and allow all to accompany key space missions. For example, I can imagine a future robotic rover mission to the moon where we can all walk or fly along with the lunar rover as it makes its way over the lunar landscape. As the rover streams its data back to Earth, we can build up an increasingly accurate virtual model of of the land it is traversing. Your avatar can explore along with those of scientists and engineers managing the mission. You might just have some expertise or simple knack in geology and shout to the mission manager, "Hey, over here, isn't that carbonaceous material?" for example. In this manner, we can all participate in space exploration. When the next people step on the surface of the moon in a little over a decade, your avatar will be with them. Of course, we haven't yet figured out how to address the light travel time delay, so you'll be with them a few seconds in the past. But as our technology improves, the human ability to interface with cyberspace increases. The fidelity of this new reality to the real solar system will only grow. It won't be long before the fanciful holodeck of Star Trek will become a real tool for all of us to share in, participate, and contribute to the vision for space exploration. Speaking of contributing, we do want your help directly. Across the IT industry, computer experts are finding that so-called open source software is far more useful and even secure than traditional proprietary software systems. In these open source approaches, the full source code is openly available. If one wishes to modify it for a particular purpose, it is easy to do so. And make your new application an additional open source resources for others to use and build upon. For example, the entire Linux operating system has been developed in this way. Initially, it was a plaything for computer geeks. Linux is perhaps the most powerful tool for many top-end applications, including those for space science and exploration. Ironically, the open source software is more secure than the proprietary system, since any user can see the full code and ensure directly that no malicious software is lurking. Recently, experts, or again, to use the word geeks as the case may be, at NASA Ames developed a new application for problem reporting and tracking, modifying the open source software Bugzilla. This only took a few weeks and is now a central part of the practice system used as we develop the vision hardware for the Constellation Program Office. Approximately 2 years ago, the NASA Open Source Agreement, or NOSA, was established to release NASA-developed code as open source. While this was a great step forward, the true power of open source is realized when you create an active community engaged in the development of a project. As such, the Colab team is working hard at creating Cosmos code to create a community of space hackers to actually develop in the public domain, not just release it. This way, after NASA finishes the project, there is already an active community able to keep the momentum moving forward and extend the functionality. Through Colab, we are beginning other efforts to allow people to see what problems we are working and themselves contribute to solutions. Another key way for all to participate in the vision. Sometimes you die in Second Life too. This is a beta version, I might add. But let me turn now to an area I believe is already revolutionizing everything we do in space. The word space used to always carry big dollar signs. The billion word is all too distressingly appears. Frustrated space experts around the world, sadly, more so outside the United States than here, develop some concepts to fix things. Using so-called microsatellites weighing a few hundred kilograms, rather than thousands as their high-priced relatives, these folks were able to get 80% of the capability at 10 to 20% of the cost. And that cost was only a few tens of millions, euros or pounds or Canadian dollars, that is. Moreover, by mounting these missions as secondary payloads, piggybacking on a large mission, the launch cost would be very small. Now we're applying this at NASA to space exploration. In a little over a year, America's next mission to the moon, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO, will be launched on an Atlas V rocket. It is designed to orbit the moon to get the detailed mapping and scientific data we need to land people on the moon a decade or so later. But it doesn't touch the moon. It can't answer a very key question as to the possible presence of ice in the permanently shadowed craters at the lunar pole. So NASA is developing a low-cost secondary mission called LCROSS, or Lunar Crater Observing and Sensing Satellite. The LCROSS costs only $75 million and stays attached to the Atlas upper stage after LRO is released. Directs that upper stage and eventually itself into an impact in those permanently shadowed lunar polar craters. That impact will blow ejecta up to 100 kilometers above the lunar surface, where it can be activated by L-cross, LRO, and other systems in space and on Earth to see whether water is present. Now, if we can figure out how to show a little video clip here, I'd like to move to the NASA Island screen, and with a little help from Ella Fitzgerald, show you how L-cross will work when it actually flies. I hope your avatar will fly along with it in real life too, perhaps even experience a few crashes. People here in the real world can show the clip, that would be great. But as they said in the old TV commercial, wait, there's more. Technology is marching on. If microsatellites weighing 100 kilograms can do 80% what a big satellite does, how about a nanosat weighing 10 kilograms, doing 80% of the microsat mission? Not only do we believe it can, we have done it. A few months ago, an Air Force Minotaur rocket lifted off from NASA's Wallops Launch Complex in Virginia. It carried a microsatellite for the U.S. Air Force that is getting 1 meter class imagery on the Earth. But it also carried a NASA nanosatellite weighing just 8 kilograms. This GeneSat has successfully showed that biological experiments, in this case measuring how the space environment and microgravity affect gene expression in E. coli bacteria, and how this can be done quickly and affordably. Many other biological and other space exploration experiments are in development or planned using nanosatellites. The entire mission cost only a few $1 million, putting meaningful space capabilities within reach of a huge segment of the community, including fully privately funded space exploration missions. I'd like to stop here before I start waxing eloquent about pico and even femto satellites, but I think you get the message. This is not your father's space program. The new technology of virtual life and cyberspace means we can all participate in the vision for space exploration. The revolution in nanotechnology means we can do pretty surprising things in very small packages too. I haven't gotten into all the possibility of new biotechnology. That's for another talk. But all of these mean that as we expand into and settle the solar system, we will all be going. Now, I'd be happy to address questions either here from my colleagues or in Second Life on NASA Island or in the audience. Thank you. Now I'll materialize out here because we're having a little trouble with the software. We can tell, and we can take the first question from Second Life. Somebody can read it to me. Yeah.
So Pete, one question from Second Life is, Second Life is inherently a globally accessible environment. Does NASA see an opportunity to take that into consideration in terms of the ability to draw input and expertise from a worldwide audience? This is also true for open source software, as you mentioned.
I think the answer is absolutely yes. If one looks at the vision for space exploration, one of the very key parts of it is that it's a completely international effort. We are going to the moon and Mars. We're going to the first step of settling the solar system along with our colleagues around the world. The exciting thing about Second Life, I think, is that it offers an opportunity to easily work in these workspaces. It is the global collaborative workspace. So I see this as one of the key parts of the international commitment that the United States government has made for a vision for space exploration. Take a question here.
Yes.
I guess this is the real world. I never know.
Well, maybe. We hope so. My question is if you're going to crash the stage into the crater to try to see if ice is thrown out or some of those ice is thrown out, are you worried at all about the fuels or the hardware contaminating the ice that we might want to use for water, drinking water, or something, if we do establish it?
Well, it's been said that what if we hit the only place that was ice and ruin it? There is certainly a concern. The analysis shows this is a relatively small area. It's going to be a few tens of meters, but it's an assay, and we have crashed a lot of other things into the moon. So, one of the issues as we go forward is to make sure we don't contaminate the workspaces. But that is good. That is a good point. There's been some analysis done on that. Next, is the Second Life question.
This is a related question to the previous one. Specifically with regard to the European Space Agency, does NASA see opportunities to collaborate with the European Space Agency through virtual environments like Second Life?
Well, I certainly intend to use this this Colab and Second Life construct as a way to begin a new type of collaboration. We're already collaborating very actively with the European Space Agency. In fact, I think this week there's major discussions going on. But I would see Second Life as a particularly exciting way, and in just sort of thinking out loud, the Europeans have a student moon orbiter, and we've looked at some similar things in the U.S. Collaboratively designing and developing those missions would be a perfect thing to use Second Life as a way to construct things. Indeed, Second Life is a way you can actually build stuff, so we can build prototypes and actually test them as the fidelity of these simulations gets better. Next question here.
You just mentioned that Second Life may be a good environment for collaborative design work. How does ITAR affect Second Life?
What? ITAR? Is there something called ITAR? Obviously, there's a lot of challenges as we have more and more collaborative arrangements, and clearly we're going to abide by the rules, but a lot of the key issues here in terms of preliminary designs and collaborations can be done in a very open manner. And indeed, I think that as we move forward, it just means we've got a job for a lot of lawyers and attorneys. I don't want to tell my attorney jokes, I get in trouble with that. But I think that that's one of the challenges is to find the initial collaborations that we get permits and agreements that we can go forward on. But yes, I think that's going to be a hurdle, and NASA for one is working hard to overcome that in all of our international collaborations. Buzz, I have to let you ask a question here before I go to the second one. Go ahead. Give Buzz the.
You ever thought about maybe having an image or an icon for Second Life character? A Buzz Lightyear too?
I think that's a great challenge to everybody in Second Life, and I would love to see it.
I feel like I've somehow had a Second Life.
Well, it's I think that's a great suggestion. So those of you that are working on Second Life, to work with Buzz, I think everybody would be incredibly excited to have you in Second Life as well. In any incarnation you can. You can change clothes, get younger, as you can see that I did. But I think that's a wonderful idea. So we'll try to take that one on board. You got another Second Life question? I thought you were here in Second Life. Yeah.
I'm going to put a couple together here. Will NASA allow visits to other planets in Second Life? And is there a danger that a Second Life version of space will replace the desire for people to go to space in real life? And how will Second Life be used to augment space exploration?
Well, it's my intent to try to get everybody to go along with us on the Alcross mission. And how high fidelity we can do on that will certainly be part of the effort. But absolutely, this is the idea to get everybody to go along. Now, of course, there's always from those I think that aren't real familiar with some of these virtual reality things, that worry that somehow replaces reality. I think it supplements reality and makes it a lot more real. And it's the purpose of all of this is to use this as a tool to expand our consciousness and our ability to experience the universe. So I'm quite excited about it. I'm not really very worried that we're going to end up with a kind of everybody lives in some imaginary world, because it's a way to experience a different aspect of the real world. Question here?
Yes, we've seen two really great videos today, and maybe this is an NSS kind of challenge, but how do we get our hands on those videos? Those are fantastic outreach opportunities. The one was very rousing and dramatic, and the other one was quite a lot of fun. And I'd like to get my hands on it, I even pay for it.
Well, the one that was shown a little earlier is available on the NASA website. I think it was nasa.gov, imaginatively named. But you can be able to track that down. If you have any problems, just, there's some Q&A or how-tos on that. The other one, if it isn't already on our website at Ames, we'll put it on there. Make sure it gets on there. I got a couple of my Ames colleagues here, so that's an exercise for the student, but that shouldn't take long. Second Life question?
First, Buzz, you should know that the volunteer community in Second Life is already working on your avatar, so we'll have it done soon. So a question unrelated to Second Life as a medium. What's the trickiest problem you've come across as director of NASA Ames that is yet to be solved? And to turn it into a Second Life related question, is Second Life supported across the agency?
Well, the first question is, that's an easy one. I wish I could manufacture money. And that's the biggest problem. I mean, it's all resources. There's an awful lot of really exciting things we can do. I mean, I can't imagine a neater initiative for the people of the world than moving out the solar system. And it's a problem. There's a lot of other pressing needs and interests, and it's, I'm frustrated every week I'm at NASA headquarters, some new cool thing. And, the crummiest job in the world is to work headquarters. They got to say no. I don't have to. I say, well, I'll take it to headquarters and get, But we got a few things to do. And Second Life is one of them. Second Life has been strongly supported Some of the initial funding to help set some of these things up was done jointly with headquarters and with Ames Resources. We're trying to expand this throughout the agency. Real good support from the Strategic Communications Group at headquarters. So I'm really quite excited. One of our big challenges here is to figure out how to excite the next generation of Americans and people around the world. People use these tools to experience the world. So the more we can do in these new kind of venues, I think the better. I really haven't seen any opposition to working in Second Life from anyone. Hopefully we can get Mike Griffin to develop an avatar for him, the one that plays golf. So, well, he is a good golf player. But anyhow, this is a very strong supported initiative. Question here?
You stress the perceived value of open source software in building collaborative environments. Being in business, if you will, making open source software work, one of the key things is getting a clear articulation of what it is you're trying to do, what are the functional requirements, and laying out an understanding of what the problem space actually is. Is NASA prepared to interact on the level of telling the community where the problems lie and where you need help?
Well, I think the answer, that's a very complicated answer. In some of the supporting areas, already yes, in terms of trajectory modeling and whatnot. What I see is the first really substantive hardware development effort is some of these nanosatellites, where you can afford for a few $1 million to take take a chance and to try to show how to do it where you're doing a demonstration. So the one I intend, at least to, as we move forward on nanosatellites, pick some sort of nanosatellite program that are basically based on the CubeSat concept and move forward with it. I think that's an area where we can demonstrate the power of these methods without, obviously I'm not going to go to the Constellation Program Office and say your central control software will try this new thing on it. That just doesn't work very well. But if you can start small and demonstrate the efficacy of it, that really is a good effort. So I'm hoping in the next year to get some approval to try some of this on rather modest scale. But I think the answer is, I really want to underscore your point that you have to be able to define the problem from the ground up, define it well, where people can work on it. But we do really want to give this a try, and it can do amazing things for us.
You want to engage the broader community, articulating the real problems at a functional level where people, no matter how small, you give somebody something real to do. Speaking, I know that's what made the difference to me as a young engineer, being able to get in, having the opportunity to work on a real problem.
Well, that's exactly what our intent is. So I guess all I can say is watch us. If we don't do it, give me a hard time. If we do a great job, then tell Mike what a good job the agency is doing.
We have an offer, by the way, from Second Life. City's offering a membership in a virtual golf club in Second Life for.
See how powerful this is? I just need to get this to the administrator.
Question back to national security. I think it's sort of reference to bringing us all along on the winter mission, and also in regard to work in Second Life. Are you not concerned with the U.S. national security implications of bringing these kind of technologies and data to the internet?
Well, obviously there are people that are concerned about any new technology and that it has security implications. But I guess I would say, in a fundamental sense, that what security is about is getting people so they don't hate each other. And I can't imagine a better way of doing that than working on collaborative projects that are the promise of everyone. And establishing permanent presence in the solar system is the objective that I think to do that. So I am not worried in the long run that the security implications are going to get in the way of this. I'm sure there are people that I'm looking forward to it. I mean, that's what NASA's all about. Next question?
Yeah, given that there's no robotic lunar exploration program funded right now beyond LRO and LCROSS, your concept of small packages, how do you see that going? Like I've heard talk of people wanting to land small networks of small packages on the lunar surface.
Well, I believe that, clearly to do robotic lunar exploration is it's going to require a lot of different size missions. Obviously, I'm a zealot for small things, I have a small center. But it's not really true to say that there isn't robotic missions after LRO and LCROSS. The agency has started a significant lunar science program. We're hoping to expand on that, and I think that within that science program there's going to be a lot of opportunity, depending on the money level, but if we can really do lunar missions for the few millions, a few tens of millions, I think that well within the budget we've got, there's a lot of exciting things we can do with the moon. There's also exciting things we can do with asteroids, Mars, and our solar system with these small missions. So I think it's really going to open things up. And the point I wanted to make is it's real. We're launching nano satellites now that cost $2 million. They launch piggyback. So I'm confident as the announcements of opportunities come out, we're going to be able to move this one forward. So it's I think, for one, I intend to have some of the people at Ames to propose for this new lunar science effort for some of our nano satellites. So we'll see how that goes. Alan Stern has decided which one's going to go. So I'm being real nice to him. Second line question?
Yeah. Somebody who I happen to know works at JPL is asking, do you think it might be possible someday to use a platform like Second Life as a way to create the first decentralized NASA center?
That would come from JPL. There are times I'd be happy to decentralize JPL, crucially, the 10 NASA centers are an incredible construct. I think yes. The answer is that as we show more and more things can be done in a virtual reality and distributed presence, that's going to open up the meaning of things like centers will increasingly go down. One of the big themes of every administrator has one NASA. And I can't think of a better way to make sure we have one NASA that we can use these tools to really move forward. One of our new partners in Silicon Valley, Cisco, has got virtual, they've done a lot of work on virtual conferencing and presence. In fact, they told me that they use these things, they've decreased their travel budget by 20%. I understand that's hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think these things not only will give us a better way to work together, but they're going to save us a lot of money. I intend to give the next one of these talks as we sort of get the bandwidth up a little more, from the comfort of my office and a glass of good California wine. Texas wine isn't quite there yet. So yes, I think that's a really neat possibility. Question here?
I was going to ask, what did you think of the SpaceX live rocket cam images from their Falcon 1 launch a month or two ago? And how would the LCROSS involvement compare with that? And I guess as a follow-on to that, what extensions have to be made to Second Life itself in order to include destinations like the moon and other planets?
Well, I think, that's a multi-level question, so I can get in trouble on all of them. But clearly, those rocket cam things are really cool. And it allows people to go along on those missions. We are going to look and see what we can do without, huge cost increases for LCROSS. And one of the things we're going to start doing here in the next few months, as we get the spacecraft coming together, is do we have enough data from the various sensors on board the spacecraft that we already can do that. If we have to add things, we'll certainly look at what we can do in those areas. And as far as changes to Second Life, clearly as it evolves, and I think that's the important thing to understand, it's an evolving framework, that feeding in the data, making sure that it's compatible with the software is clearly an interesting challenge, but the whole construct of Second Life being sort of an open source thing, I'm confident that if we have the data, there'll be people that will help us get it ported in and make it as real as we possibly can.
Are there any specific Second Life and real life relevant integrated projects that you intend to work on from Ames that leverage Second Life?
Well, what I'd like to do is, there's a couple of them. The first one would be, we have access to space station data. We would like to get that ported into Second Life. There's cameras on board the space station. I think that's the first immediate project. The next one I mentioned was L-Cross, to see how we can port L-Cross data in. And then was mentioned to try to do some design efforts, not only using Second Life, but using some of these Cosmos Code efforts. And I think if we can choose a suitable nanosat project, that's a perfect opportunity to show the power of these new methods. Question here in the audience.
Pete, could you share with us some of your impressions of Yuri's night at NASA Ames and its relationship to Second Life, and some of your impressions on the possibilities for the future?
Yeah, look, a lot of you are probably familiar with Yuri's night. If you're not, it's commemorated on the 12th of April, is commemorating Yuri Gagarin's historic first human flight into space. It's also the first shuttle flight, occurred on that date. Every year for over a decade, a number of folks have worked to make this an international space celebration. But we thought it would be kind of cool to do something, at NASA Ames. We've got all these neat old hangars. So we decided to have a celebration. I think some people called it a rave. The cops thought it was a rave. But we decided to have an all-night celebration with displays of robotics. We took out a prototype telescope that we're going to fly on a small satellite. We had a number of earth science demonstrations, and we had lots of really cool music. Even I thought it was cool. I think it's kind of not. And we had lectures. I gave a lecture at 1:30 in the morning in a wizard's outfit. And some young man came up to me afterward and said, I've heard all this stuff before. And he said, somehow in this environment, you giving it that outfit, it really clicked. So I said, something more here. But again, this is part of our effort to make space fun again. I mean, I'd like to say that when I was an undergrad, you could actually go into a bar and talk to somebody of the opposite sex. And they thought it was cool that you were in space stuff. So we'd like to make that happen again. And, my wife thought it was cool, so the whole idea was to have a celebration. And we had about 4,000 people show up. Great success, it was great fun. I even had the mayors of Sunnyvale and Mountain View there. They left before it got real fun. But we're going to try to do this every year. We're expanding in how to combine entertainment, music, and so forth. At NASA Ames, Walker Field, a year from right now, it's going to be Team Expo. Some of us remember the US concerts 25 years ago. Steve Wozniak, Woz, sponsored those, and he's sponsoring these. So we're going to have a week-long, technology, education, art, and music, the team celebration. So I see, NASA, there's no place cooler. So we're going to try to do this stuff. It worked out pretty well. This is another way we're trying to reach out and connect with all of our population around the world. Clearly, we might try to connect in Second Life, some of the celebrations around the world. We thought about it this year, but it just wasn't quite enough time to put it together. So yes, I see real possibilities there.
Okay, I'm trying not to censor, but you don't have to answer this one. Pete, can you please take my JSC Center Director to the next series night? But a serious question.
Mike Coates is welcome.
Do you,
here, I think I should give him a hard time.
A serious question. Do you think the present PSC budget will be enough to go to the moon? And if not, will the unmanned budget be squeezed?
Well, that's another one, the opportunity to excel, right? I think we can do it within the current budget. One has to be efficient. One has to make use of new tools like Second Life and collaborative efforts. Building open source software is pretty cheap. So it's clear to me that there's a lot of challenges. build our new systems the way we did in the past, it's going to be tough. But I'm already seeing a lot of innovation. I mentioned in my talk the practice system, the problem reporting system, that's being used by Constellation. We pulled that off. Bugzilla, which is an open source system, did it in a couple of weeks. That saved us a lot of money. And so those are the kind of things that using these new technologies move forward. Obviously, NASA has a lot of things on its plate. Science is clearly a key one. But I want to point out that roughly a third of NASA's budget is going to science, whereas over a decade ago it was only about 25%. So I see the science, aeronautics, space operations and exploration going hand in hand. Of course, always where you stand depends on where you sit. And I was a professor at the University of Arizona, and there I kept saying, I'd like more money for my own specialties, and if there isn't any money, you always say, well, it's because they got it. In that case, the they was, Caltech or some other university. It wasn't nearly as good as Arizona. And so there's always competition. So I think that there's that's always going to be an issue. But I think we got a pretty balanced book. I don't see some big problems there. Okay, we got another question there on the second life.
So when do you think the first NASA probe might send back information directly to an interplanetary network node?
This is a communications question. I'm quite excited about the possibility of private development of interplanetary networks. In fact, we have in the Innovative Partnerships program at NASA an effort right now involving Cisco and Ball Aerospace to develop concepts for private sector development of interplanetary internets. I could see easily within a decade that those things would be in place, funded with private sector money. And by the way, private sector is really the key to all this, as you said in the initial speeches of the vision. So this could happen very fast, maybe even sooner. So that's probably the next big private sector possibility, the next COTS kind of thing, in my opinion. One last question.
Yep. I can squeeze two in here and choose. First is, do you have plans for nanomissions that might help us to understand and eventually overcome global warming? And the other question, which has been asked by a number of people here, is how do you spread this kind of creative and innovative thinking across the agency that you seem to be pushing at agency?
Well, I think nano satellites have huge potential for taking more comprehensive data on global warming. Indeed, we're looking at potentially using nano satellites to get some of the critical space weather and interaction with the upper atmosphere. One of the big uncertainties is how much solar input is there in global change. So I think the answer is absolutely yes. And second, I think the agency is spreading this stuff. I think we're going to do cool things. A lot of the other centers are doing cool things, and headquarters is involved in this. But innovative approaches to this, a long time ago I was kind of a NASA critic, but now I am one. And to my mind, it is a very open agency, and I tried to work in the five-sided mast across the river for a while, and they weren't open to anything. So I think this is NASA is regaining its traditional role of innovation and excitement. And we look forward to all of you to help us. Thanks.
It's terrific to see NASA leading the way again. As a small token of our appreciation in the traditional NSS, Moon, Mars, and beyond pyramid. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you also to your avatar.
Right, thanks to my colleagues that are a lot better at this than I am. Thanks to everybody at Second.
Okay, thanks.
One note before we move on to the next speakers. NSS is very pleased, as a follow-on to this fantastic presentation, to announce that we have, the National Space Society is opening its own island in Second Life that we're announcing today. And that will be managed by an NSS chapter that's really taken the lead in this area, the Oregon L5 Society, which has built some really tremendous things inside Second Life. And the National Space Society is very excited to support the Oregon L5 Society as we move forward collaboratively. Thanks very much to the folks who made that possible, including Robin Snelson, an NSS member, and many of the other folks on Pete's team, Andrew Hoppin, Jesse Cowan, Bobby Shingler, and others who have really been taking the lead in this area. So we're looking forward to moving forward. This island will be adjacent to the NASA presence, as well as the International Spaceflight Museum in a new area of Second Life called the Scilands, which is a science-oriented area. And really, this is the kind of thing that the Society wants to be doing, engaging new audiences in space. And it's great to have NASA leading the way on that.